Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight in today with probably the single biggest question for anyone in a white-collar career right now. Is all this rapid advance in generative AI, it's handling coding, writing, all sorts of things, is it actually starting to pinch human work? Because if you look at the big picture, the economy, it's a bit weird, right? Growth seems steady, but then job creation has slowed way down. Like the US added only 22,000 jobs 1 month recently. That's a huge drop from, say, 158,000 just a few months earlier. So it makes you ask, and we want to ask you directly, is AI going to put people out of work?
Well, the short answer, based on the research we've looked at, is that a full-blown AI jobs apocalypse seems pretty distant.
Hmm.
If you look at the official stats, the overall percentage of white-collar jobs hasn't really tanked since ChatGPT burst onto the scene in late 2022.
Okay, so no mass extinction event yet.
Right, but, and this is the crucial part, if you dig deeper, down to the level of individual companies, you start to see something else, something more structural happening.
Ah, okay. So the surface looks calm, but underneath.
Exactly. Underneath, there's what we're calling a quiet reshuffle. It's not really about mass unemployment hitting headlines. It's more about a fundamental change in who gets hired and, well, what they're actually being hired to do. We found this very specific pattern emerging. It really suggests that AI is driving what you might call a seniority-biased technological change.
Seniority biased. Okay, let's unpack that. What's the actual evidence? Because, everyone feels like something's changing, but we need the hard data.
Yeah, good point. The best data we found comes from a couple of Harvard University doctoral students, Said Hosseini and Guy Lichtinger. They did this huge study, tracked over 300,000 companies. And they specifically zoomed in on about 10,600 firms they labeled AI adopters.
AI adopter. So what makes a company an adopter in their study?
These were companies that actively went out and hired people for roles like generative AI integrator. Basically people whose job it was to weave this new AI tech into the company's day-to-day work. Hiring those specific roles, that was the signal they used. It showed the company was serious about using generative AI, not just talking about it.
Got it. So they compared these serious AI adopters to companies that weren't making those kinds of hires. What did they find about entry-level jobs specifically?
Okay, this is the core finding. It's pretty stark. After 2023, hiring for junior roles dropped across the board. That was just the market trend. But, and here's the key, at those AI adopter firms, the decline was 7.7% steeper over the next year and a half.
Wow, 7.7% steep. That's significant.
It really is. And crucially, they looked at senior hiring too, and they found no similar gap there. Senior hiring was stable, maybe even up a bit in some cases. So it wasn't an across-the-board cut. It was specifically the floor dropping out for junior roles at these AI-forward companies.
Okay, that 7.7% number really stands out. But I have to push on this a bit. The job market for new grads is always a bit up and down, right? Especially after the pandemic weirdness. How sure are we that this 7.7% gap is definitely because of the AI push and not just, the economy sorting itself out?
That's the critical question, and the researchers really dug into that. They controlled for various economic factors, industry trends, company size, all that stuff. And their finding held up. The difference seemed structural, linked to that AI adoption.
Okay. And how did this drop happen? Was it layoffs?
Mostly, no.
Mm.
That's what's subtle about it. It wasn't primarily about firing existing junior staff. The main driver was slower recruitment. Companies just stopped hiring as many newcomers.
Why?
Because the kind of work those newcomers traditionally did, the basic, often tedious but mentally taxing stuff, AI tools started handling it.
Right, like the first 6 months on the job stuff. Debugging basic code, reviewing standard contracts, sifting through data, drafting routine emails or reports.
Exactly that. That kind of high-volume, follow-the-procedure work is precisely what generative AI is really, really good at right now.
So AI becomes like a filter at the entry point.
Perfectly put. It targets what some might call mindless mental labor work, where compliance and accuracy are key, but maybe deep insight isn't required yet, and it's hitting those first few rungs on the professional ladder.
Okay, this leads to a really interesting, maybe unexpected consequence they found. Who exactly is most vulnerable in this shift? You mentioned something about a U-shape.
Yeah, the U-shaped pattern. It's fascinating because it kind of flips the script on who we usually think automation affects most. You'd normally think, oh, it hits the lowest skilled jobs hardest, but here it's a bit different.
How so?
Well, think of the letter U. At the two top ends of the U, people are relatively safer.
Okay, who's at the top ends?
On one end, you've got graduates from top-tier universities or people with really specialized, complex skills. Their abilities are scarce, hard to replicate. AI might help them, but it doesn't replace their core problem-solving or strategic thinking.
Makes sense. And the other end of the U.
That's where you find graduates from, say, lower-cost programs or people in jobs that absolutely require face-to-face interaction or have a strong local component. They might be retained because they're cheaper or because you just physically need someone there,
So top specialists are safe, lower cost or place-based roles are safer, which
which
leaves.
leaves the people in the middle. The bottom of the U, graduates from mid-tier universities, folks doing solid, standard, procedural white-collar work efficiently.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. They're caught in what the researchers call the substitutable middle ground. Their work is exactly the kind of standardized process that AI can now do very quickly and very cheaply. They don't have the elite specialization of the top tier, nor the cost advantage of the lower tier. Structurally, they're the most exposed right now.
Wow, that completely reframes the challenge for, a huge number of people starting their careers. Okay, so that's the entry-level squeeze, but you also said this is seniority biased. Why does the same AI tech seem to act as a booster for more experienced employees?
Because experienced people bring things AI doesn't have yet. Human judgment, strategic thinking, understanding nuance in communication, leadership, navigating complex office politics.
The stuff you learn over years, not just procedures.
Exactly. For them, AI becomes a tool. It automates the routine parts of their job, freeing them up to focus on the high-value, uniquely human stuff. It makes them more productive. It enhances their skills. That's why the sources call it seniority-biased technological change. It benefits those already established.
Okay, but hang on. If AI boosts the seniors and screens out the juniors, doesn't that create a huge long-term problem? What happens when that first rung of the career ladder just breaks?
That is the profound long-term risk everyone is worried about. Those entry-level jobs, even the boring parts, were the training ground. That was the scaffolding, right? Where you learned the ropes, mastered the basics. Like, remember struggling to write your first really concise report or spending hours debugging something tricky?
Painful, but you learned.
You learned. That struggle builds competence. Now imagine a new analyst uses AI to generate a near-perfect draft instantly. They might skip that whole messy learning process. They get the output, but do they truly understand how it got there? Do they develop the underlying skills?
So they become reliant on the tool without mastering the craft.
Precisely. And if that happens widely, you risk this structural degradation of human capital over time. We accelerate today's veterans, but we might be accidentally hobbling the pipeline of future seasoned talent.
Which could lead to a real shortage of experienced leaders down the road. Okay, that's a pretty sobering thought.
It is.
This is why the consensus in the sources isn't panic, but preparation. Aggressive preparation. If the old doors are closing, where are the new ones?
The message is clear. You have to learn to manage the machine and double down on what makes you human.
Okay, let's break that down. First, manage the machine. What does that mean for someone starting out?
It means the entry point itself is changing. It's shifting away from being the person who does the manual task to being the person who directs and oversees the AI doing the task. So the job isn't writing the first draft anymore. It's crafting the right prompt, evaluating the AI's output, refining it, verifying it, integrating it.
So skills like prompt engineering, knowing how to check the AI's work, understanding model governance, that becomes the new baseline.
That's increasingly looking like the case. And on the more technical side, there's huge demand for people who understand applied machine learning, MLOps, which is the practical side of running AI systems in business.
And you mentioned LM tuning earlier. What does that actually involve for, say, a business analyst, not an engineer? Is it just tweaking prompts?
It's a bit deeper than just prompts. LM tuning is more about customizing a general model like ChatGPT, so it performs really well for a specific company's needs, like training it on the company's internal documents, making sure it uses the right tone, understands the specific industry jargon, making it a specialist tool.
Ah, I see. So being able to bridge the business need with how to actually tweak the model, that's valuable.
Hugely valuable. People who can do that are like gold dust right now.
Okay, so master the tech. What's the second part? Enhancing the human skills.
Yes, focusing on the things AI can't easily replicate. These become exponentially more valuable as AI handles the routine stuff.
Like what?
Like critical thinking, real conceptualization, the ability to ask the right question, not just get an answer, strategic insight.
And the people skills, right.
Absolutely crucial. Emotional intelligence, understanding and navigating human dynamics, real leadership, complex negotiation and communication. Think about it. If AI handles routine emails, the high-stakes face-to-face conversations become even more critical. Your ability to persuade, to connect, to lead a team, that's the premium skill.
Which explains why we're hearing that hiring is becoming more skill-oriented.
Exactly. Companies are starting to look past just the traditional degree or credentials, especially if those credentials represent skills AI can now perform. They want to see evidence of adaptability, critical thinking, communication, those core human capabilities.
Okay, and the third piece of advice.
Cultivate cross-disciplinary capability. Don't just be a specialist in one narrow thing anymore.
So break out of the silo.
Yes. The real value often comes from connecting dots. Knowing your field, say marketing, and knowing how to effectively use AI tools within that field, or understanding finance and how to leverage AI for risk analysis or document review. It's about integrating AI across different areas of expertise.
Makes sense. You need to be T-shaped, right? Deep in one area, but broad enough to connect.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it points to a need for education to adapt, too, emphasizing these core human skills alongside responsible AI use.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. What's the main takeaway?
The core thesis is AI isn't going to wipe out all jobs tomorrow, but it is acting as this seniority-biased technological change. It's significantly narrowing the pathway for new people entering white-collar fields, especially hitting those mid-tier candidates who used to be a huge engine for, economic mobility.
And the big societal risk that comes out of this.
It's rising income inequality. If that bottom rung of the ladder is damaged, it becomes much harder for newcomers to climb up. The productivity gains from AI risk getting concentrated mostly at the top.
Yeah, that's a serious concern. And you hear some pretty stark warnings out there. Didn't the CEO of Anthropic say something about AI potentially handling half of junior tasks soon?
He did. Figures like that aren't meant to cause panic, but they highlight the urgency for people to prepare and adapt.
Right. So we want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. If AI really can start handling, let's say, half of your routine administrative or analytical tasks, are you ready? Are you prepared to use the time that frees up to make the other half of your work, the strategic, the creative, the human-centric half, significantly more valuable?
That's the challenge. The goal isn't to fear AI taking your job. It's to learn how to make AI your indispensable assistant, not let it become your adversary.